Hey everyone, and welcome to my vlog of the Talking Pictures TV Festival of Film in July 2025. So yes, I'm going to be setting off later today. Really looking forward to it as always. I always enjoy these shows, and the Monmouth Theatre is, just a really nice theatre, and I'm looking forward to going back there again. If you saw my previous video, I did show the guests who were going to be there, and you can watch that if you want to see me go over the guests. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Neil Brand again, who plays the piano while they show Laurel and Hardy films. And I'm also looking forward to, not a person, but they're gonna have the Basil Brush puppet there. And yeah, I said I hope I can get a picture taken with that. I think that would be nice. But one thing that I didn't mention in that video going over the guests who announced that I considered mentioning, but I didn't, is that I have actually booked for a convention that will be in between this Talking Pictures show I'm going to and the next Talking Pictures show in October. So I am going to Talking Pictures show in October later this year, but I've got a convention that I'm planning on going to, which is before that, which is nothing to do with Talking Pictures. And it's actually being held quite near to where I live. So yeah, I look forward to that, and yeah, I'll probably do some videos on that. I'm sure a lot of you guys would probably be interested in seeing that stuff. So yeah, and also I would like to show, since Neil Brand is going to be at this show, I'd like to show that I am going to be wearing the t-shirt that I wore to the Talking Pictures event in July of last year, which was also in Monmouth. So this t-shirt, last year when I went to Monmouth, I had just bought this t-shirt recently, and I decided to wear that since it's related to classic films. But now I think it's especially appropriate since Neil Brand is going to be there, and he plays piano and accompanies silent films. So if you don't know, the Silent Comedy Watch Party is a series of live streams on YouTube, and it's on a YouTube channel by a guy named Ben Modell, and basically he's a pianist or a silent film accompanist, and he plays the piano while they're showing silent comedies on the live stream, which is kind of similar to what Neil Brand does, except Neil Brand does it in front of a live audience, and Neil Brand only does it with Laurel and Hardy, which I have shown some Laurel and Hardys on Silent Comedy Watch Party. But yeah, I thought it would be especially appropriate to wear this since what Ben Modell does is kind of similar to what Neil Brand does. I don't know which day Neil Brand will be there, because since it's a 2-day event, I will be wearing a different shirt on each of the days, and I don't know which day Neil Brand will be there, but I think it'll be nice to wear this since he'll be there. So yeah, I'll probably have a cut now, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of this vlog. So yeah, this is the same place that I was staying at this time last year, and yeah, it's just really nice to be here with, all the fields and stuff. And yeah, you can see there's a lot of sheep there. You can see it when I zoom in. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear them, but yeah, they're barring. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy staying here for this weekend like I did last year, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to the show on the weekend as well. It's going to be great. I'd also like to mention that I brought Bernie Clifton's book with me to the place that I was staying at, and yeah, it's a really good book. I've really enjoyed reading it. I've nearly finished it now, but I think it's pretty fitting for me to bring it with me while I'm staying over for when I'm going to this event, because I bought it from Bernie at the last Talking Picture show that I went to, and he was also at this show in Monmouth, which of course I knew he was going to be here, so that was part of the reason that I decided to bring that book along with me to where I was staying. Now, I don't know if this was here last time, but I noticed this display, which is basically showcasing things that have been shown at this theatre or people who've been here at the theatre, which, yeah, this is really cool, honestly. And as you'll see here, it does advertise that Talking Pictures have been here before, which is pretty cool. So now I'll show some of the pictures that I took of people on stage, and yeah, I'll talk about what I liked about them and all that. Now this I thought was cool. So this is Julian Dutton, who he's doing his tribute to Last of the Summer Wine, which, yeah, he did it on both days, but on each of the days he was doing a different episode that he was reading through, and it was basically kind of like a script read, but he was doing impressions of all the characters, and his impressions were actually really good. I was impressed by that. Unfortunately, on the second day they were running a bit late, so he had to do like a shortened version of that episode, which was a bit of a shame. But yeah, his impressions were really good, like, and particularly because I think Peter Sallis has a very iconic voice, and he actually did it really well. I mean, it's, since Peter Sallis died, I know a guy named Ben Whitehead has taken over as the voice of Wallace in Wallace and Gromit, and he does do a really good job at voicing him, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, I think Julian Dutton, like, his impression of Peter Sallis rivals Ben Whitehead's impression. Like, yes, seriously, I think he's that good at doing it. So here's Lee Lawson being interviewed, and he's an actor and a director, but apparently he's also written like poems, and he read out some of his poems here during the interview. And yeah, I really enjoyed hearing him talk about his film and television career, but I also really enjoyed hearing the poems. He read out some of his poems, and Mike read out some of them as well. Yeah, I just really enjoyed the whole thing. We also had this choir who were there last year, and I liked them a lot last year, and yeah, they were still really good. And one thing that I liked was the fact that they sang the song "Is This the Way to Amarillo?" Because this time last year, in the same theatre, I saw Tony Christie there, and he performed that song. That's his most famous song. And yeah, and also on the second day of this event, they had a singer called Mark Porter, and at the end he sang that song as well, which was nice. That was the last song that he performed in his act of being on stage, but it was also the last thing of the entire show before they started screening the movie at the end of the event. Here are some pictures that I took of Lola L'Amour performing, and also she had Mike Reed on stage with her, which, yeah, they've done sometimes at these shows where, like, they kind of perform on there together. Like, sometimes they kind of duet together, or she kind of sings to him. Like, it can be kind of amusing, and it's pretty entertaining, And yeah, she is good as a singer. So these pictures are from the first day, and as you can see, Mike is dressed a lot more casually. Then on the second day, he's dressed a lot more professionally, and this is more how he usually dresses at these shows. But one interesting thing about this image is, I mentioned this last year. I did a short on it last year in October, where I showed that the Talking Pictures TV official Facebook page posted images that some other people had taken, and they even used some images that I took, which was cool. And they got them because I posted the pictures in a Talking Pictures TV Facebook group. But and they did the same thing this year, where the pictures that people had taken were put on the official Facebook page, and including some of the pictures that I took. And they included this picture here of Lola and Mike. And not only that, but Lola actually made this into her cover photo on Facebook. So that's pretty cool. And of course, seeing Neil Brand again, presenting Laurel and Hardy, that was great, Although, I mean, I know at the beginning I did mention that I was bringing that silent comedy watch party t-shirt with me. I didn't know which day Neil Brand was going to be there, so I guessed maybe he might be on the second day, because the last time I saw him at a Talking Pictures show, he was there on the second day. So wore the t-shirt on the second day, but it turned out he was actually there on the first day this time. But it's not a big deal. But yeah, this was great to see. Of course, being a big Laurel and Hardy fan, at first he showed a bit from a short film called Battle of the Century, and he played piano along with it. And then at the end he played the whole short of one called Liberty. But in between those two, he played a maybe more obscure comedy short. It's called A Pair of Tights, and it stars two female comedians, Anita Garvin and Marion Byron, and it also has Edgar Kennedy in it, who's in a lot of Laurel and Hardy stuff, and Anita Garvin was in some Laurel and Hardy stuff as well. Oh, and I should mention that it was made by Hal Roach Studios, who of course made most of Laurel and Hardy's more popular films. And yet that was actually really funny. I really enjoyed that. I would recommend looking at that short if you can. It's actually really entertaining, and I'm glad that he showed that, because I hadn't seen that before. He also talked about the tour that he's going to be doing next year, which basically that will be a big tour he's doing in celebration of 100 years since Laurel and Hardy, both of them worked at Hal Roach Studios now. It's not 100 years since the first time they ever worked together. The first time they worked together was in a short called The Lucky Dog, which wasn't by Hal Roach, but then in 1926, that was when the both of them first worked for Hal Roach Studios. I know the first Hal Roach short they worked in together, well, they weren't actually in any scenes together, but it was a short called 45 Minutes to Hollywood, which they weren't actually in any scenes together, but that was the first time the both of them were in the same Hal Roach film. So he said that he's going to be doing, for that tour, he'll be doing it at I think he said 52 different theatres, and he said chances are it might be at a theatre near you. So, and he has been at my local theatre before. I would hope to see him, if he comes, near me. And anyone else listening to this, if you're in the UK and you're a Laurel and Hardy fan, chances are he might be playing near you next year. So, look out for that. I would definitely recommend it if you get a chance. He is very good at, doing piano tracks for these silent comedies. Here we had James Tomlinson, who's the son of David Tomlinson. And there's also Miles Jupp there, he's played David Tomlinson before in a West End play. And they were here being interviewed about David Tomlinson. And also Miles Jupp did read some excerpts from the play that he did where he played David Tomlinson. And I did see some images of him dressed as Mr. Banks from Mary Poppins, and I thought that he was going to dress like that and act it out at this show. He didn't do that. He just read excerpts from it, but he did mention that there's been no plans of doing the play again, but he said he'd be happy to do it again. And James Tomlinson said that if he ever does it again, and if you get the chance, go and see him, because he's really good. So, and that's good to get high praise from the guy's son. I just really enjoyed this interview. And they also were selling copies of David Tomlinson's autobiography, and they did have James sign them for people. And I bought a copy of it and got it signed by James, and I'll look forward to reading that. I'm sure it'll be interesting. I really enjoyed hearing them talk about him on stage. And of course, David Tomlinson was a great actor, in stuff like Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So this is someone called Mansell David, and he's basically playing Arnold Ridley, or at least he's speaking as Arnold Ridley. And this was a piece that was written by Arnold Ridley's son, Nicholas Ridley. And it basically it's from Arnold Ridley's perspective. It's him talking about his life and career. And Arnold Ridley wrote a play called The Ghost Train, and he's known for that. But as an actor, he decades later he became known for playing Private Godfrey on Dad's Army. So he talks about that, but also talks about Arnold Ridley's real life experience during both of the World Wars, which was pretty interesting since, of course, Dad's Army is a show set in World War II. Overall, I thought the monologue itself was very compelling and well written, and I thought Mansell David's performance as well was very good. Something I would like to mention about this book is that, of course, it is an autobiography. It was written by the man himself. It was originally published in 1990, but as this edition was published, long after his death, it does have like introductions on it which were written, after his passing. So it does have this first, like, giving some information about him, and it's after his passing, and then it does have a family tribute, and it does say that this was written by James, his son, who I met at the show. And so that was last year that he wrote all this. And then it does have an introduction by somebody called Craig Brown. And then it's the start of chapter 1. So then the main bit of the book was written by the man himself. Oh, and also I've had a look at the back, and it says that at the end of the book it does talk about Miles Jupp's play that he was in, where he played David Tomlinson. The Life I Lead is what it's called. So yeah, that's pretty nice, to have that in a newer edition of it. And yeah, as I said, on the first day, James Tomlinson was signing copies of his dad's book. But then on the second day, Bernie Clifton was signing copies of his book, and he performed on stage before that. I didn't get a signed copy from him this time because I already did last time. I got a signed copy of his book, but yeah. But it was really nice to see him performing again. He's still really funny, and yeah, he actually did squirt the audience with water, which Basil Brush did that a bit as well, or at least like his co-star squirted a bit. And by the way, yes, I am wearing this new cap. This is a new cap. I bought it at the second day of the show, and it has their new slogan on it, which is "Life in the Past Lane," which they've been using that slogan more recently, to celebrate their 10th anniversary. And yeah, I should mention that Talking Pictures TV just turned 10 years old, so yeah, happy 10th anniversary to them. So yeah, I guess now I'll show you some pictures from the second day. Hope you enjoy seeing these. So here's a picture of me wearing the new cap that I bought, and that's my dad next to me, by the way. And yeah, I think the cap looks really cool. Now this is a guy named Steve Chibnall, and he's written a book about an actress named Belinda Lee, and he did this sort of presentation where he's talking about her, and basically it's kind of a shortened version of what's in the book. And yeah, it was very interesting, especially since Belinda Lee is an actress who I didn't know much about, and I did realise I have seen a film that she's been in, because they did show, before he came on, they did have a show reel of some of her films, and I have seen one of her films, that she was in. She was in a Norman Wisdom movie called Man of the Moment. I have seen that, but yeah, I didn't know much about her, and I'm not so much familiar with her other films. But this whole presentation was very interesting, I have to say. Now, this was possibly my favourite performance of the whole show. Yes, this is Basil Brush in his slightly adult act. It's not too adult. And, I do remember Mike Reed mentioning on the Footage Detectives, it's not going to be too adult, but yeah, it's sort of it's a more grown-up one. Apparently, yeah, he's been on, recently they've been doing with Basil Brush, a kids show and an adult, show. But yeah, this was hilarious. I mean, the only thing is if you watch my video where I was going over the guests, I did say that I was hoping I could get a picture with Basil, similar to how I did get a picture taken with the PG Tips monkey. But it seemed like they weren't doing photos with him, from what I could tell. But yeah, that's okay. But the performance itself was just hilarious, and it was just a lot of fun. I'm so glad that I got to see that. One last thing that I'd like to mention is that usually at these shows they have like these big boxes and they have the guests' names on them, and they have pieces of paper that people can write questions on for the guests, and then they put those questions in the box. Now, I do remember last time that I went to the Savoy Theatre, they didn't have those boxes there. And this time they did mention why. They mentioned it's because that theatre doesn't really have enough space for those boxes. So what they did this time instead was they had these like small books that people could write their questions in for the guests, and each of the books, had a picture of the guest on them and their name. So yeah, and then those questions were asked to the guest during the interview. So that was pretty cool. Although there was a different way that they did questions for Basil Brush. Basically, what they did for him is they had like something on screen. I don't remember if it was like a QR code or something, but it was something where people could contact it with their phones and could send questions to Basil through there, and then later Basil answered those questions. But then after that, Basil's sort of co-star, Mr. Martin, is the current one that he works with. He went into the audience and he had a microphone and he asked people directly, for questions for Basil Brush. So that was pretty nice. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I definitely really enjoyed the show as always, and yeah, I look forward to the next Talking Pictures show in October. And as I mentioned, I do have a convention that I'm going to, which will be before that, and that has nothing to do with Talking Pictures. And yeah, I'll look forward to doing those, and I'll probably have videos on those as well. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching this video, guys. Take care. Bye.